What was Moses' response to Reuben's and Gad's request for the inheritance east of the Jordan? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Numbers on Walking Through the Bible. If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Numbers 32. We're going to be reading from verses 20 to 30. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Numbers 32, beginning of verse 20. Then Moses said to them, "If you do this thing, if you arm yourselves before the Lord for the war, and all your armed men cross over the Jordan before the Lord until he has driven out his enemies from before him, and the land is subdued before the Lord, then afterward you may return and be blameless before the Lord and before Israel. And this land shall be your possession before the Lord. But if you do not do so, then take note, you have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sin will find you out. Build cities for your little ones and folds for your sheep, and do what has proceeded out of your mouth." And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben spoke to Moses, saying, "Your servants will do as my Lord commands. Our little ones, our wives, our flocks, and all our livestock will be there in the cities of Gilead. But your servants will cross over, every man armed for war, before the Lord to battle, just as my Lord says." So Moses gave command concerning them to Eleazar the priest, to Joshua the son of Nun, and to the chief fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel. And Moses said to them, "If the children of Gad and the children of Reuben cross over the Jordan with you, every man armed for battle before the Lord, and the land is subdued before you, then you shall give them the land of Gilead as a possession. But if they do not cross over armed with you, they shall have possessions among you in the land of Canaan." In this chapter, we've been talking about a request made by the tribes of Rueben and Gad. They received their inheritance on the east side of the Jordan River instead of the west side, because the land on the east side was better for raising sheep, which they had many of. Moses thought that this was a scheme by these tribes to settle here in an already conquered land in order to avoid going to battle with the rest of Israel for the land of Canaan. If Reuben and Gad did this, this could demoralize Israel, thus causing them not to want to take Canaan, as their fathers had decided 40 years earlier. However, Reuben and Gad said that this was not their intention. They said that they would build sheepfolds and fortified cities here on the east side for their flocks and wives and children to stay in, but that they would go into battle with their brethren, so that they would defeat the Canaanites and their brothers would receive their inheritance. In theory, this promise sounded great, and the request sounded reasonable. But how would God respond through Moses? Beginning in verse 20, we find out. There Moses made the acceptance of their request conditional. When the time came to attack Jericho and attack Canaan, which was probably mere months away, Moses would be dead and Joshua would be in charge. They were not to go back on their deal simply because Moses was dead. They were to follow through. They were not only to go to battle with Israel, they were to stay with Israel until the land was subdued, meaning that any resistance was quelled and Israel fully controlled the land. If they did this, then they could inherit the land east of the Jordan and be blameless before the Lord and before Israel. However, if they did not do this, then they had sinned against the Lord, and their sin would find them out. What did Moses mean here? Well, remember again, Moses would be dead by the time Israel attacked Jericho. Reuben and Gad didn't come before Joshua, they came before Moses. So at that very moment, this plan of theirs wasn't public. If it remained that way, Reuben and Gad might try to renege on their promise, claiming that they didn't make such a deal to cross over and fight. The only deal they made was to inherit on the east side of the Jordan. But of course, if they tried this, God would know and would punish them for their sins. In the book of Joshua, we're going to find that a man in Israel tried to secretly disobey the commands of the Lord, but his sin was revealed by God to Joshua, and the man killed for his sins. Nothing can be hidden from God, and punishment for sin will be meted out, either in this life or in the life to come. But just to ensure that everybody was apprised of the details of this agreement, Joshua, Eleazar the high priest, as well as the chief fathers of the tribes of Israel were told as well. If Reuben and Gad did what they said, they would inherit on the east side of the Jordan, as they had asked to. However, if they reneged, they would be forced to cross over the Jordan and inherit there, as was originally planned. Reuben and Gad were told to complete their work of the building the sheepfolds and the fortified cities so that they could be ready for battle when the time came. We'll finish this story, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Numbers 32, verses 31 to 42, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time.
Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.